Good to see everybody. Thank you, guys. I hope you guys got something great out of that first session. As we talked about when I sent you guys all an email about this, a lot of the sessions today, all of the sessions except this one and the one Joe and I are doing in a little bit, are geared toward our distributors to kind of teach them how to be power users of the platform and leverage all the functionality. But I think it's a great opportunity for you guys to see kind of what they're using it for and how they're using it and get some ideas. I know I was writing down notes about what Bobby and Kate were just saying about marketing automation and stuff, because we'll touch on that in this session a bit, and actually in the session Joe and I are going to do about insights and reporting in session a bit. So it all ties together, we promise.
That's actually a good segue. I'm actually going to share my screen.
Let's do it.
So maybe just to point out as well, if we do have any distributors that are hopping on this session, you are more than welcome to stay on this session, but to be honest with you, this one's going to be more specific to our supplier partners. Features and the tools that we're actually going to talk about, they're not really going to be applicable to your license type. So we'll not take it personally. We'll not get upset if you do want to jump out and attend one of those other breakouts, but we'll give everyone an extra couple of seconds. But Dave, do you think we are good to go?
I think we should be good to go. We're on a tight schedule, so we might as well get rolling. I'm sure we'll have a few
Let's kick it off.
Find their way into your session here in a second.
Let's do it. And you can see my screen right now?
Yeah,
it's a good thing.
Looks great.
Yeah, beautiful. So really, just to carry on what Dave was saying, this session is going to be more about some of the features available to our suppliers. So more specifically around your collections, how you can better use them within CommerceView, as well as include them in any cross-platform strategies that might be outside of our app. In case you don't know who Dave and I are, hopefully you know who we are by now, but my name is Joe Kemple. I'm the Senior Client Success here at CommonSku, and I'm joined by Dave Schultz, the VP of Supplier Partnerships. We actually just wanted this slide so that we can show people what we look like prior a pandemic.
Before we could get haircuts too.
Exactly. If we ever go missing, use these photos.
One thing I forgot to mention real quick too, if you don't want to see our faces that much and you want to maximize the slide deck, you can double click on the actual slide deck that's above us, and it should take it to full screen if you want to do that.
Yeah, look at our faces full screen. So really jumping into it, so looking at the collections and how you can better use them. So if any of you have ever done a training session with me in the past, usually how we really train our users on how to build collections is with a what, how, and why tactic. So first off, we start with, well, what obviously are your collections? What is so special about them? What is it that you can actually do to better use them within your accounts? Once we have that basic understanding, we then start to move on into the how. So that would be, how can you create them? How can you add in your products? How can you maybe add in categories? And eventually how you can then publish them. The very last thing is usually the why. So once we have that basic understanding of what and how, we might then move into, why is it that you're spending this much time building a collection on CommerceView when you actually have various different strategies that may be working for you outside of our platform? We're actually going to flip that around today. So usually we start from the outwards in. We're actually going to be starting from the inwards outwards. And the reasons being is that the why is actually going to act as the most important thing to actually get your message across to our distributors. This is actually referred to as the golden circle of marketing. So I'm not just making this up. This diagram did come from somewhere. I'm not that creative.
Sure, Joe. Sure.
This golden circle of marketing actually comes from this guy who gave this wonderful quote. So Simon Sinek says, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. If we put this into concepts of everyday life, so if we've ever gone to a shop and we've been approached by a salesperson, the only reason that they're approaching us is because they make commission from us. We're obviously then going to maybe try and gravitate away from that individual. Okay, they're not really passionate about what they're trying to sell to us. They're actually just trying to sell to us so that they get money out of us. You're going to want to think about that really as you build in your collections. The best salespeople show passion behind what they're actually doing. With that in mind, so we put this into context of a collection. If you're keeping in mind that salesperson that is a little, selling to you just because they want money from you, this might be how a collection would look like if they were building it. They're not really putting much thought behind the title. They're just telling you, well, you should buy my things because I have this feature. I'm going to select every single theme because if I select every single theme, they're more likely to be used. That's actually going to work against you. You're not going to want to do that on CommonSkew. And the simple reason being is it looks obvious to the end user what you're doing. Really building on the why you're wanting to put a little more time and effort into collections on CommonSkew, you're going to want to be first creative. So you're going to want to think of, well, what is it that you're trying to get across as a story? What kind of products are you wanting to select? And along that line, you're also going to want to be selective. Really developing that. So we jump on in here. If anyone has ever built a collection, or if this is the first time you're hearing about our collections, fairly straightforward process. If you just hop on over to your collections tab, you're going to add in your products. With adding in products, this GIF here is actually just showing you how selective that you should be. So although you could actually add in as many different products that you would like, you're actually going to want to develop your story. So in this case, I've built a collection that says work from home essentials. I'm actually putting a little more time and effort thinking, well, what products fit within that? You're probably thinking, well, yeah, being selective is one way that I could be a little creative, but really the creativeness kind of stops at that. That's not really the case. Once we've added in those products that you think fit more accurately within your theme, start to edit those products to customize it for the experience that is on CommonSkew. You're probably thinking, well, Joe, changing a title or changing a product description is only limited as far as creativity goes. But what I would say, and I don't think many people have done this or noticed that you can actually do this on our collections, our product images do support GIFs. I created some confetti just to make that point obvious. We support GIFs, everyone. So the really cool thing about this is that you can actually incorporate moving images. So if you're not quite sure on how you can actually create a GIF, I just suggest going onto Google, look it up. It's extremely straightforward. Okay, just shows because we're actually pulling items from Distributor Central or you're creating them custom on CommonSkew, because you're actually uploading a GIF, it means that this is more specific to our distributor users. Okay, it just means that you're a little more tech savvy or a little more creative as to how this is actually going to be presented for that end user. Once we have your GIFs, I'm covered in confetti right now. This is actually a famous quote by a really famous person. GIFs are the future. Doesn't matter who said that. Guys, it was me. That doesn't mean I'm wrong. GIFs are the future. It just means that it's a little more interactive for the end user experience. Once we have that and you're just developing your story. So if you've never used categories are actually really good for two reasons. One is to think of your collection more like a book. So within a book, you would have chapters. If you're thinking that the collection theme is quite broad, well, a way for you to actually really break that out for the user experience, add in some titles. This evolves your story. It illustrates your selectiveness, but more importantly for the end user, it's actually going to be easier navigation for that distributor. Again, I'm actually just showing you how simple it is. So once you've started to add in some products, the option below that is your categories. To show you from a distributor point of view how those can actually be used. So with each of those categories, what that person can now do is click between them. I've said that phrase that this is actually going to be your chapters. So within a work from home essentials, what I've included here would be 2020 bestsellers. I've also included limited time sale. Who doesn't like a sale? The other one that I do want to point out here, this is actually something unique that I think could really work for collections. And that is actually putting your name on it. Including a category saying that this might be you as that curator of this collection. These could be your favorite products. Developing that idea that you're smacking your name on it. How often in real life have we seen things like, Oprah's book club? We've seen people like Heather's Picks, for those of us that are in Canada, Heather's CEO, she's put her face on some books, recommended that we actually read them. Who even knew Reese Witherspoon has her own book club as well? I didn't, but because she's got a face on things, I'm more so inclined now to read her things. The other thing, for any Parks and Recs fans that are out there, Jones Book Club. Every single one of these represents a celebrity endorsing what they're selling. For our experience, it actually just means, well, that person is actually given their stamp of approval. And you could actually start to incorporate that onto your collections. It's fairly unique. It's showing how creative you can be. In this case, if you're the curator, you're the architect, maybe you're the champion on the account, put your face on it. Reasons being, I know it's hard to imagine that we might have trade shows or conference, but for our commonsku users, they actually know that it was you giving approval on that collection that they potentially used. Now that's really looking at some details around the collections, but really developing on the why as well, is that your collections actually impact one of the features for our distributors. That feature being our shops. Think of shops more like an online store solution that we have on commonsku. What that really means to the distributors, similar to how you would build a collection, they are more specifically curating, selecting products that they would like their end clients to be using. The benefits to you actually building out accurate collections, you're putting more time and effort into them, you're being selective, you're being very creative. It just gives that potential that an entire collection of yours can easily be pulled into a shop, then sent out to an end client. So that being with the what's and how's of our collections, Dave, this is going to be the smoothest segue. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and you're going to take it over for us.
Let's see if I can do this. Oh, did it work? It worked. Boom.
Hey,
How good was that? Thank you, Joe. Alex just had a great comment too. See, it's suppliers are already learning something new today from you, Joe, which is fantastic. I know you teach our distributors every day new things, but she said that she likes the category. She didn't know that was even an option. So there you go. Yeah, and that means I'm also not doing my job as well when I'm talking to our supplier partners and not mentioning these things. So there you go. Okay, so that was kind of the tactics behind the creation of collections and how you create them, why you create them, things like that. I'm going to touch on a few of the more strategic things about what they are and how they're being used, why they're important, what they're used for, and also how you can kind of tie it into some things you're already doing using digital marketing. You know, you heard Bobby and Kate both talk about account-based marketing and CRM and things like that. And it's definitely the wave of the future. And there are ways to tie what you're doing within the commonsku ecosystem with what you're doing digitally outside the system. And before I get too deep into that, just to kind of paint the picture of how this is part of what we like to refer to as the commonsku connected workflow. You know, in terms of what we're trying to do with commonsku and our supplier and distributor community, it's all about streamlining the entire workflow for our distributors. They want to work with suppliers who make it easy to work with them. And that includes everything from this ideation phase of which collections are a part through the entire rest of the workflow. And for those supplier partners of ours, like you guys who have some or all of the promo standard services integrated into commonsku, it's streamlining every single piece of this connected workflow. That ideation phase is critical. Our distributors love commonsku because this is where they come to get product ideas when they don't necessarily know what they're looking for. You know, they'll post in the community, they'll send you a collaborate request, and they go to your collections. And collections have become an even more important part of that ideation phase over the last year. And we're seeing the usage on those and the usage of shops and presentations grow, particularly during this pandemic when everybody's been doing more and more and more digital presentations and fewer in-person presentations. So that's kind of the reasoning behind why these are becoming more and more important to have updated and out there for our distributors to find. The rest of that workflow, as I mentioned, is all part of the connected workflow as well, but it all starts with finding better ideas faster. And I put the fancy new promo standards logo in there. I don't know if John's on this session or not, but you all, if you or your team hasn't heard of promo standards, somebody at your company has, because all of the connected suppliers are integrated to at least some extent through promo standards. And speaking of John, thanking him for a few of these quotes out there, you know, just to kind of paint the picture of how this has saved time and made it easier to work with our distributors and streamline their workflow. Since Starline integrated their promo standards with commonsku, it was over 2 years now. He's seen sales with commonsku distributors up, and that is both same store sales, so to speak, as well as with new distributors who come into the commonsku community over time. He actually said that his customer service budget is down by 50% of what it was prior to starting to initiate all these promo standards integrations. And that's not necessarily, that doesn't mean he's let half of his customer service staff go. That just means that staff, instead of answering calls all day long for inventory or calling to see if they received the order, what the order status is, when it's going to ship, what's the tracking information, all of that now is done automatically. So his customer service team is now answering questions like, I've got this project in California. How can we get these tumblers to California by tomorrow? They're more solution providers than just answering inventory and order status questions. And that's a big deal in terms of operational savings and efficiency. Lead times have been shortened on orders and they're getting paid faster. So there's all kinds of benefits in terms of that segment of the connected workflow. And on the opportunities and the sales and marketing side, the collections have become super important. And I threw this slide in there, and I know Joe just talked about how important categories were. So just to differentiate a little bit, categories within a collection are fantastic. If you want to put a bunch of products into a collection and create those categories to help distributors navigate through that collection and find the products they're looking for, that's fantastic. This article, and I've been hearing this more and more over time, the death of the category on Amazon. It used to be that somebody would say, well, yeah, I'm the top water bottle manufacturer in the world. I should be number one on Amazon. If you take that same argument and you apply it to ESP, Sage, Distributor Central, et cetera, you know where I'm going. Like, a lot of you guys are paying a lot of money to be at the top of your category in those search platforms, which has made sense over the years. That's how you got eyeballs. That's how you got people to pull your products, put them into presentations and sell them. What we're looking at with collections is the ability to provide a more finessed way to find product ideas through your collections, through your involvement in the community. It just makes it easier. In this screenshot example here, if I type pen into ESP, into our integration through ESP, I get 61,395 results. I mean, distributors don't want to look through 61,000 pens. But if I look at a collection like this Uniball collection that Starline made, when I look at the collections page or I'm creating an order, now I see these beautiful collections with products in them, nicely curated, that I can instantly add to a presentation or an order. And as our connected partners now, you guys are the first thing they see when one of our distributors creates a new shop or presentation or an order and they click that add product button. The first thing they see are icons for all of you guys as our connected supplier partners. And if they click it, they're going to see your collections. That's why when I say it's more important than ever to have your collections updated and fresh, it's because that's the first thing they're seeing. Before they even get to the ESP and Sage search, they're seeing your collections. And so having really nicely curated collections to help them come up with ideas is super important. We're also creating curated collections now too. So Ali and our marketing team are pulling products from your collections and creating our own curated collection that we're promoting, and our distributors can take and convert to presentations and shops too. Okay, real quick, and man, we are running short on time, so I'm going to blow through this pretty quickly. But if you guys, I'm sure you're all using email marketing, and Bobby talked about it, super important. It is very easy to use collections as the call to action in your email. If you imagine our distributors historically going out and clicking a link to your website and having to email you and get images and pricing and everything, it can take a lot of steps. If you use your collection as a call to action and you're emailing our common SKU distributors, they can instantly turn that into a presentation. A couple different ways to get that information into your email marketing platform. One, there's an export for the distributor companies. If you go to that page, the reports you all are getting now monthly with presentation and sales data has the actual reps in there and their email information. So use that, import it into your CRM system. I threw MailChimp up here just as an example, but if I create a common SKU tag within my MailChimp account and import all those records that you got in your monthly report, you can tag them now as common SKU, create an email just for common SKU distributors, and use that collection as a call to action instead of sending them to your website. So it takes 2 steps to get those products in front of their customers. Quick example right here, Kate over at Spectre. So you can see the email on the left. The call to action is Kate's favorites, a very nice personalized collection. If I click on that as a distributor, I see those products, and then I can click that add all button and add that to a presentation or a shop and send it out to my customers immediately. So super fast and easy way for you guys to get your products in front of your customers. And then your marketing teams will know all about the automation you can layer on top of that, where people who open the email. You can send them follow-up emails, all kinds of really cool stuff you can do there. Whew, man, that was fast. And we have 1 minute to spare. So I'm glad we could get all those slides in.
Nailed it.
Have to wear our real cowboy hats, but appreciate you guys all joining us for this session. And you can always reach out to Joe or myself with questions about anything we talk about. And we're going to dive into some of the reporting and stuff that kind of ties into this in our session later today. So with that, everybody can go back to, are we going back to the main stage? I believe we are.
The main stage. There should be a button that way.
Up there?
I think.
Awesome.
You got it.
I'm going to stop sharing my screen and we're going to head back too. Thank you guys. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Dave. Great job.
You too.